After a torrid couple of weeks in the news, including a blistering book depicting him as a sex-crazed buffoon, Prince Andrew has finally got the hump with speed bumps.
Behind palace gates, royal disagreements rarely stay hidden for long. Yet this time, quiet whispers drifting from the countryside have ignited a wave of curiosity across royal watchers everywhere.
But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button. The tea is just starting to heat up.
Reports claim that Prince Andrew erupted in fury over a deteriorating farmhouse linked to his royal estate, transforming what should have been a minor property issue into a moment of visible frustration. Staff were reportedly stunned by the intensity of it all, and insiders suggest the reaction was anything but routine. So was this really just about a neglected building, or does this sudden explosion reveal deeper tensions quietly simmering inside the House of Windsor? From royal comfort to royal controversy. For many years, few members of the British royal family stirred as much curiosity, conversation, and debate as Prince Andrew. At one time, he stood as a confident and powerful figure inside the monarchy. As the second son of Queen Elizabeth II, Andrew grew up surrounded by privilege, tradition, and the heavy expectations that come with royal life. His position placed him close to the very center of the royal institution, where appearances at major ceremonies and official events made him one of the most visible faces in the family. In those earlier years, Andrew's life reflected the classic image of royal authority. He served in the Royal Navy and earned recognition for his role during the Falklands War in 1982. That chapter helped shape public perception of him as disciplined, courageous, and committed to duty. After leaving active military service, Andrew kept a strong public presence. He traveled across the world, represented Britain at international gatherings, and carried out a long list of royal engagements.
At the time, he appeared firmly planted within the inner circle of the monarchy.
His responsibilities brought both visibility and influence, and many observers believed he would remain a central figure in royal affairs for years ahead. The mix of royal status, military experience, and global exposure built an image of authority that followed him wherever he went. But over time, the story surrounding Andrew's life shifted dramatically. What once looked like a steady path of royal duty slowly turned into something very different. Instead of the confident royal ambassador many expected, his name increasingly became linked with controversy, criticism, and relentless public scrutiny. Andrew soon found himself at the center of uncomfortable headlines and difficult questions. As the controversies grew louder, the atmosphere around him began to shift in a very visible way. Public perception started to change, and the role he once held inside the royal family slowly faded from the spotlight. Where he had once been a familiar face at high-profile ceremonies and major official events, his presence became far less common.
His appearances grew increasingly rare.
The spotlight that once celebrated his royal standing now carried a far different tone. This change has been visible not only in public opinion, but also in the quieter details of his daily life. One moment that captured this shift came during a recent visit Andrew made to a modest farmhouse located on the grounds of the famous Sandringham estate in Norfolk, England. The estate itself has long been closely tied to the royal family, especially as a private retreat traditionally used by British monarchs during the winter holidays. At first glance, Andrew's visit to the farmhouse may have seemed routine. Members of the royal family often review estate properties or oversee maintenance matters, so a brief inspection did not initially appear unusual. Yet in Andrew's case, the visit carried deeper meaning that many observers could not ignore. For someone who once moved through grand palace halls and represented the monarchy at international events, a quiet inspection of a countryside farmhouse felt symbolic. It highlighted just how far his situation had shifted from the days when he stood confidently on the global stage. The contrast of the scene was striking. Instead of grand ceremonies, state visits, and large public celebrations filling his schedule, the setting was calm, private, and far removed from the world of royal spectacle. The farmhouse itself, simple and understated, almost seemed like a quiet metaphor for Andrew's current position.
Far from the center of royal life, yet still loosely connected to it.
Royal watchers and observers quickly interpreted the visit as more than a routine property check. For many, it represented the broader transformation of Andrew's role inside the monarchy. Where he once represented royal visibility and influence, his position now appears far more restricted and uncertain. In many ways, Prince Andrew's story now feels like a dramatic shift from prominence to distance. His journey reflects how quickly public roles can change inside institutions as historic and structured as the British royal family. The quiet farmhouse at Sandringham may look like an ordinary building on a large estate. Yet for Andrew, that visit quietly captured the reality of a life that has moved far away from the powerful image he once projected to the world. How did Andrew react when he first saw the property? When exactly did the visit take place? Was it handled with royal style or something very different? Let's look closer at the visit to Marsh Farm that raised more than a few eyebrows. Prince Andrew recently made a quiet trip to the Norfolk countryside to inspect a property believed to be called Marsh Farm. The farmhouse sits a few miles from Sandringham House within the same royal estate, though in a far quieter and more secluded corner, surrounded by open fields and calm rural scenery. Compared with the main residence, the property feels far less formal and far more private. Reports suggest the farmhouse had been sitting empty for quite some time without regular care or upkeep. What had once been a charming country home slowly began to deteriorate. The paint faded, parts of the structure weakened, and the surrounding grounds became messy and overgrown, leaving the entire place looking worn and neglected. Things reportedly began to shift when preparations quietly started for Prince Andrew to move into the property. Soon after, teams of contractors arrived at the site and launched a large renovation effort aimed at restoring the farmhouse and making it livable again.
The scale of the work appeared significant and carefully organized.
Security fencing was among the first features installed around the property, creating a clear protective boundary. Workers then focused on repairing damaged sections of the house, addressing structural problems, restoring exterior walls, and reinforcing parts of the building that had weakened over time. At the same time, several modern upgrades were introduced. Technicians reportedly worked on improving the internet and communication systems, so the farmhouse would have reliable connectivity despite its remote countryside setting. Outside, landscaping teams began reshaping the surrounding land. Bushes were trimmed, pathways were cleared, and new planting plans were introduced to improve the appearance of the grounds. The goal seemed to be creating a space that balanced privacy with safety, allowing whoever lived there to enjoy the quiet countryside while still maintaining strong security measures. To anyone passing nearby, the once silent property suddenly looked busy and active. Local residents who happened to drive or walk near the area described seeing constant activity around the site. Construction vehicles came and went throughout the day, builders worked across different sections of the house, and security personnel were occasionally spotted around the grounds.
What had once appeared abandoned was now buzzing with work and steady progress.
Gradually, the aging farmhouse began transforming into what looked like a comfortable and well-secured country residence. Eventually, the moment came for Prince Andrew to see the progress for himself when he arrived at the property. Reports say he took his time walking slowly around the grounds, studying the exterior of the house and observing the repairs and landscaping that had been completed. From there, he reportedly stepped inside and moved through the rooms, carefully examining the layout and details during the visit. He also spoke with several workers and supervisors responsible for the renovation project. According to different accounts, their conversations covered several practical matters. Security arrangements were discussed, including how the property would be protected once it became occupied. Interior design choices were also reportedly mentioned, along with decisions about furniture placement and how certain rooms might be arranged. On the surface, the visit resembled the kind of inspection many homeowners carry out before settling into a newly renovated home. It was meant to be a straightforward visit, a chance to review the work, ask questions, and make final adjustments before moving in. Yet, despite the effort poured into restoring the farmhouse, reports suggest Prince Andrew did not appear entirely satisfied with what he saw. Some observers claimed he looked visibly frustrated as he walked around the property. Others said his body language suggested discomfort or dissatisfaction with certain parts of the renovation. One particularly dramatic account even described his reaction as something close to a tantrum. Of course, that kind of wording often reflects the exaggerated tone that sometimes appears in media coverage of royal figures. Stories involving members of the royal family naturally attract intense attention, and descriptions of emotional moments can easily become amplified by speculation or storytelling.
Still, despite the different versions of events, several reports seem to agree on one key point.
The farmhouse simply did not appear to meet Prince Andrew's expectations. Whether the issue involved the size of the rooms, the style of the renovations, or the reality of adjusting to a quieter and more modest property compared with grand royal residences remains unclear. What does seem certain, however, is that the inspection visit did not leave him particularly impressed. Even after the extensive upgrades and preparations, the farmhouse appeared unable to win his approval during that moment. The question many observers began asking was simple. Just how different would this new home be from the one he had lived in for years? Would Prince Andrew be able to adjust to the change? To understand why the farmhouse may have felt disappointing, it helps to look at the kind of residence he previously called home. For more than 2 decades, Andrew lived at Royal Lodge, a grand and historic property located within the breathtaking grounds of Windsor Great Park. This was far more than just a large house or a comfortable place to live. Royal Lodge is a remarkable estate with roughly 30 rooms, surrounded by sweeping green lawns, towering old trees, and a peaceful landscape that feels almost untouched by time. The property carries a quiet sense of grandeur shaped by history, tradition, and royal heritage. Living at Royal Lodge meant enjoying a rare level of privacy while still remaining close to the center of royal life. The estate sits only a short distance from Windsor Castle, one of the most important royal residences in Britain. Because of that location, Andrew was never far from ceremonies, gatherings, and official functions that frequently take place in the Windsor area. For someone born into the royal family, location often matters just as much as the building itself. Royal Lodge allowed Andrew to remain both physically and symbolically close to the heart of the monarchy. Major royal events, celebrations, and long-standing traditions regularly unfold in and around Windsor.
Living nearby meant staying connected to that rhythm of royal life. But Royal Lodge represented more than simple convenience. It carried deep symbolic meaning as well. Residences located within royal grounds often reflect a person's standing within the royal household. A home like Royal Lodge signals prestige, trust, and seniority within the royal circle. For many years, Prince Andrew held the role of a prominent royal figure, and his residence quietly reflected that position. The estate also offered a lifestyle that very few people in the world will ever experience. Imagine waking up each day surrounded by wide-open landscapes stretching far beyond the horizon. Imagine living in a home filled with grand halls, historic rooms, and enough space to host gatherings while still enjoying total privacy. Royal Lodge offered more than comfort. It carried a strong sense of status and permanence. Over time, the house likely became deeply connected to Andrew's personal identity. After living somewhere for more than 20 years, a residence stops being just a structure of walls and rooms. It becomes part of a person's story. Memories begin to gather inside its walls. Family moments unfold there. Quiet reflections happen there. Important milestones become tied to the place itself. Because of this, leaving a home like that is rarely simple. To someone looking from the outside, moving houses might seem like a practical decision. Pack belongings, relocate, and start again somewhere new. But when the home involved is a historic royal estate, the meaning runs far deeper. Leaving Royal Lodge would represent more than a simple change of address. It would signal the end of a long chapter defined by visibility, proximity to royal institutions, and the privileges that come with being a senior member of the royal family. A smaller farmhouse, no matter how peaceful or charming it might be, would naturally feel very different in comparison. The difference in scale alone creates a powerful contrast. Gone would be the 30 rooms, the sweeping lawns, and the deep sense of history woven into every part of the estate. In their place would be a setting that feels quieter, more modest, and perhaps even a little isolating by comparison. For someone long accustomed to the grandeur and symbolism of Royal Lodge, that kind of shift could feel like stepping away from a world that once shaped everyday life. And that is exactly why the change matters. Moving away from a residence like Royal Lodge does not simply mark a logistical move. It represents a turning point. It quietly closes a chapter where influence, tradition, and closeness to royal power formed part of daily existence. In many ways, homes within royal grounds function almost like symbols. They reveal not only where someone lives, but also where they stand within the wider story of the monarchy. So, when a figure like Prince Andrew leaves a place like Royal Lodge, the moment carries meaning far beyond bricks, walls, or land. It becomes a reminder that even within the royal family, circumstances shift, and with those shifts, the homes people once called their own can change as well. Does Andrew's new home carry any history of its own? Is there anything unique about it? Let's take a closer look at the details of Andrew's new farmhouse, a smaller home that may hold a much bigger meaning. For many years, Marsh Farm existed quietly in the background, a rural property that attracted very little public attention. Even now, after renovations and improvements, the farmhouse still cannot compete with the scale, elegance, and prestige associated with Royal Lodge. Royal Lodge is known for its remarkable size and grand presence, an estate with dozens of rooms, sweeping grounds, and the kind of atmosphere usually linked with high-ranking members of the British royal family. Royal Lodge reflects tradition, luxury, and status at nearly every corner. By comparison, Marsh Farm tells a completely different story. Instead of a sprawling residence packed with grand halls and endless corridors, the farmhouse is expected to remain a far more modest property. Current plans suggest the home will include around 5 bedrooms. Comfortable, certainly, but nowhere close to the scale of the 30-room environment once associated with Andrew's previous residence. The renovation work now underway focuses mainly on making the property secure and practical rather than transforming it into anything resembling a palace-like estate. Upgrades reportedly include stronger security systems, reinforced fencing across the surrounding land, and modern communication infrastructure designed to meet today's standards. These improvements are meant to ensure the house is safe and functional, yet they do not fundamentally change its character. At its core, Marsh Farm will still feel like what it has always been, a quiet countryside farmhouse. Several reporters who were able to view or visit the property during renovation described the building in fairly blunt terms. One journalist reportedly referred to it as ramshackle, a word often used for structures that appear weathered, slightly worn, and in need of careful repair. The remark was not necessarily meant as criticism. Many older country homes carry that same rugged charm. Still, the description suggested the farmhouse had clearly seen better days before the restoration work began. Other observers used the word pokey when describing certain interior spaces. In everyday language, that term usually means rooms feel somewhat small or tight. Compared with the wide corridors and spacious living areas people often associate with royal residences, the farmhouse may indeed feel far more compact. Another detail quickly caught the attention of curious onlookers. Pest control vehicles were reportedly seen arriving at the property during the renovation process. Their presence sparked speculation that insects, rodents, or other small animals might have moved in while the farmhouse sat vacant for such a long time. When buildings remain empty for years, wildlife settling inside is not unusual. Rural homes are especially vulnerable to this because they sit surrounded by open land, farmland, and natural habitats. In those kinds of settings, pest management becomes a routine part of restoring an old building and preparing it for people to live in again. There have also been quiet discussions about potential flooding risks in the surrounding area. The countryside landscape around the farm is beautiful, but it can occasionally present environmental challenges. Low-lying rural regions sometimes experience water accumulation during heavy rainfall. Naturally, that raises questions when an older property is being revived and prepared for new residents. Restoration experts say none of these issues are especially surprising. Older homes, particularly farmhouses, often require serious attention before they are comfortable to live in again. Repairs to roofs, foundations, drainage systems, and interior structures are all common parts of bringing a rural property back to life. What truly grabs public attention, however, is not the renovation itself, but the sharp contrast between Andrew's past living situation and this possible new chapter. The shift from the grandeur of Royal Lodge to a far humbler farmhouse represents a major lifestyle change. It highlights the difference between a historic royal estate steeped in tradition and a quiet countryside home built for practicality rather than prestige. For someone who once lived in one of the most distinguished residences connected to the royal family, such a move carries clear symbolic weight. To many observers, it feels less like a simple housing change and more like a visible shift in status. In that sense, the story of Marsh Farm has become far more than bricks and mortar. It reflects transformation. What looks on the surface like downsizing may actually represent something deeper, a repositioning of identity, circumstance, and public perception. So why is Andrew relocating to a much humbler residence? Could it be connected to his retreat from the public side of royal life? Why has his position changed so dramatically? Let's take a closer look at the gradual retreat from royal prominence. In recent years, Prince Andrew's role within the British monarchy has shifted dramatically. A man who once stood firmly at the center of royal life now lives a far quieter and private existence. There was a time when Andrew ranked among the most visible members of the royal family. As a senior royal, he carried numerous responsibilities and held several honorary military titles. He also served as patron to many charities and organizations. These roles required him to represent the crown both in Britain and internationally. Whether attending major ceremonies, visiting communities, or traveling abroad on diplomatic engagements, Andrew maintained a steady and active public presence. For many years, this visibility was simply part of the rhythm of royal life. Senior members of the monarchy are expected to support the institution by attending events, meeting the public, and promoting charitable causes. Andrew fulfilled those duties regularly, and his schedule often placed him in the spotlight alongside other prominent royals.
However, that familiar routine began to unravel following the intense controversy connected to his past association with Jeffrey Epstein. As details about Epstein's criminal activities became widely known, public attention quickly turned toward individuals who had once been linked to him. Among those figures was Andrew. Although Andrew has firmly denied wrongdoing, the association alone triggered enormous public scrutiny. Media coverage became relentless, and questions about the connection dominated headlines. For the royal family, an institution that depends heavily on public trust and dignity, the situation presented a serious challenge. Pressure mounted quickly, public criticism increased, several charities reconsidered their ties, and the monarchy faced growing calls to respond. Eventually, a major decision was made to distance Andrew from official royal duties. In a significant announcement, Buckingham Palace confirmed that Prince Andrew would step back from his public role. This was not a short pause, but a major shift in Prince Andrew's position inside the institution. Along with stepping away from royal engagements, he lost many of the formal roles that had shaped his public life for decades. His honorary military titles were returned, and the patronages he once held were reassigned to others. These changes effectively marked the end of his role as a senior working royal. For someone who had spent much of his adult life representing the crown, the transformation was striking. The ceremonies, responsibilities, and international visits that once filled his schedule suddenly faded away. A new chapter has now begun, one shaped by distance, privacy, and a far quieter pace of life. Part of that shift is reflected in Andrew's move to the countryside. Instead of remaining close to the royal centers of activity in Windsor or London, he is relocating to the Sandringham estate in Norfolk. This estate, long connected to the private side of royal life, offers a more secluded setting, far from the constant attention of the capital. His future residence, Marsh Farm, is expected to provide a peaceful retreat away from the intense scrutiny that once surrounded him. The move represents more than just a change of address. It reflects a deeper reality, Andrew's separation from the public-facing work of the monarchy. Until Marsh Farm is fully prepared, Andrew is expected to stay temporarily at Wood Farm. This modest cottage carries its own quiet chapter of royal history. It was once used by Prince Philip after he stepped back from royal duties and settled into retirement. Wood Farm is far simpler than the grand residences typically associated with royal life. It is comfortable but understated, designed more for privacy than ceremony. For Andrew, living there temporarily reinforces how much his life has shifted away from the grand stage of royal appearances. In many ways, the move represents a gradual retreat rather than a sudden disappearance. The once highly visible royal who traveled widely and attended major events is now stepping into a far more private role. Physical distance from London and Windsor mirrors the institutional distance that now exists between Andrew and the monarchy's public responsibilities. The transition highlights just how quickly circumstances can change inside royal life. For Andrew, the Sandringham countryside now offers something that once seemed unimaginable during his years of public duty: a quieter life far removed from the spotlight that once defined him. But how has the public reacted to the palace's decisions regarding Andrew? Have people supported the actions taken by the royal household, or have they criticized them? Let's take a closer look at public opinion surrounding Andrew's removal from the royal spotlight. Over the past few years, Prince Andrew, also known by his full name Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, has experienced a steady and dramatic loss of royal honors, titles, and privileges. What makes this development especially striking is that much of the British public appears to support these decisions strongly. Opinion polls consistently show that many people believe Andrew should no longer hold the same level of recognition within the British royal system. A recent survey even indicated that around 82% of respondents support removing Prince Andrew from the royal line of succession. That figure reflects a major shift in public sentiment surrounding his place within the monarchy. Previous polls also showed strong support for removing several of Prince Andrew's titles and honors. Around 80% of respondents believed he should lose the Duke of York title. Roughly 79% believed he should lose his prince designation, while 76% supported removing his vice admiral military rank. These numbers reveal a clear public desire to reduce his royal and military status. The only major exception appears to be the South Atlantic Medal he received for his service during the 1982 Falklands War. Because the medal is directly connected to his role as a Royal Navy helicopter co-pilot in an active war zone, opinions on removing it are far divided. Many people in Britain seem hesitant to take away recognition tied specifically to wartime service. According to the survey, 36% of respondents believe the medal should also be removed, but 43% oppose doing so. This suggests that while many people support removing Andrew's royal privileges, some still believe his military service during the conflict deserves recognition.
The wider controversy surrounding Prince Andrew is closely tied to the revelations about his past association with the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. As more details about that connection became public over time, many people began questioning how the royal family responded to the situation. In fact, about 58% of people in Britain believe the royal family reacted too slowly to the allegations and developments involving Andrew and Epstein. Critics argue that the monarchy should have responded faster and more decisively once the issue began drawing international attention. Similarly, around half of those surveyed, roughly 51%, believe senior members of the royal family should have spoken out more strongly to condemn Andrew's behavior or distance themselves earlier. These views reflect a broader public expectation that the monarchy must maintain high ethical standards, especially given its symbolic role within British society. The conversation has also extended to Prince Andrew's daughters, Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice. Both royal figures have largely remained outside the controversy involving their father, but public opinion suggests many people believe some level of distance would be understandable. According to the poll, about 54% of respondents believe Eugenie and Beatrice would be justified in creating some separation between themselves and their father's situation. Attention has also turned toward the current monarch, King Charles III, and how he has handled the complicated issue involving his younger brother. For the king, the situation presents a delicate balance. He must protect the reputation of the monarchy while managing what is also a deeply personal family matter. Many people in Britain appear to recognize the difficulty of that position. Most respondents believe King Charles has realistically done what he can to separate the royal family from Andrew. However, public opinion remains somewhat divided when evaluating his overall response. Around 40% of those surveyed say the king has handled the situation well, suggesting they believe he has taken reasonable steps to safeguard the institution of the monarchy. At the same time, about 32% believe he has handled the matter poorly, indicating that a significant portion of the public still questions whether stronger action should have been taken. Many people still feel that stronger and more decisive action could have been taken. These polling results reveal a clear pattern. Public sentiment toward Prince Andrew has shifted dramatically, and many people in Britain now support firm steps to distance the royal family and the monarchy from him. Yet even with this wave of criticism, there remains a small but noticeable hesitation when it comes to removing recognition for his wartime service. That hesitation highlights something important. Public opinion can be complicated. People often try to balance accountability with acknowledgement of past contributions. So what does Andrew's relocation really signal? Could this move represent a step in the right direction, or simply another stage in an uncertain transition? Let's take a closer look at Andrew's life, a chapter filled with uncertainty. Moving house is rarely just about packing boxes and shifting furniture. Beneath the practical side of relocation, deeper personal changes are often unfolding. In Prince Andrew's case, the move carries emotional and symbolic weight that goes far beyond simply changing addresses. For many years, Andrew lived at Royal Lodge alongside his former wife, Sarah Ferguson, even though their marriage officially ended in 1996. To many outsiders, this unusual arrangement raised plenty of eyebrows. Divorced couples rarely continue sharing a home for decades, yet somehow Andrew and Ferguson managed to make it work.
Their relationship gradually evolved into something that many people found both surprising and intriguing. Rather than drifting completely apart after their divorce, Andrew and Ferguson maintained a cooperative and respectful bond. They remained close while raising their daughters and continued supporting each other in family matters. Over time, their shared life at Royal Lodge became part of the quiet and rather unusual rhythm of their family story. But Andrew's departure from Royal Lodge could change that long-standing balance. For years, the estate served as an anchor point for both of them, a familiar base where their unique post-divorce partnership continued to function. Now that Andrew is leaving, new questions naturally emerge about what this could mean for Ferguson. Will she remain nearby and maintain her connection to the estate, or could she begin considering a different living arrangement as well? At the moment, no clear answers have surfaced. At the same time, speculation continues to swirl about Andrew's possible future beyond Britain. Some observers believe this move may only be part of a larger transition. One location frequently mentioned in these discussions is the Gulf Kingdom of Bahrain.
Over the years, Andrew has built connections there through diplomatic contacts, business relationships, and social ties. Because of those links, some commentators have suggested he might eventually spend more time abroad. Some even speculate that he could relocate entirely. Nothing has been officially confirmed, but the idea continues circulating in media conversations and discussions among royal watchers. If that ever happened, Marsh Farm might not even become his permanent home. Instead, it could serve as a temporary stop, a quiet place where he can regroup and reflect while deciding what the next chapter of his life might look like. In that sense, the farmhouse may represent a transitional chapter rather than a final destination. For now, however, Marsh Farm stands as the next stage in Prince Andrew's life story. The contrast between his past surroundings and this new environment is striking. Royal Lodge, located within the prestigious grounds of Windsor Great Park near Windsor Castle, symbolized centuries of royal tradition and privilege. Its scale, history, and prestige placed Andrew firmly within the visible center of royal life. Marsh Farm, by comparison, offers a far quieter and more modest setting. Standing outside the farmhouse, the difference becomes immediately clear. The grand architecture, ceremonial atmosphere, and sense of royal spectacle that once surrounded Andrew are no longer part of the scene. The change is not only physical, it carries deep symbolic meaning. Prince Andrew's move to a smaller home reflects a major shift in his life and public standing. The reduced space, the lower level of public attention, and the loss of influence all highlight just how much his role has changed in recent years. Now, the big question is how he will adjust to this new reality. Some believe he may eventually embrace the slower pace and privacy of countryside life, using the distance from the royal spotlight to reshape his daily routine and focus on personal matters. Others believe the adjustment could be far more difficult. After spending most of his life surrounded by royal duties, global travel, and constant public attention, stepping into a quieter existence may not come easily. Only time will reveal which direction he ultimately chooses. What is clear, however, is that this move has taken on meaning far greater than a simple change of residence. It has become a symbol of how quickly circumstances can shift even inside an institution as historic and seemingly unchanging as the British royal family. In the world of royalty, status can sometimes appear permanent and unshakable. Yet Andrew's journey serves as a reminder that even long-standing roles and traditions can change with surprising speed. And now, at Marsh Farm, a new chapter quietly begins. So what do you think about Andrew's reaction to the farmhouse? Do you believe he will adapt to this new chapter of life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story interesting, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who follows royal news. Your support helps us keep bringing you the stories behind the headlines.